Okay, greetings and peace, everyone. Greetings. My name is Neo, and I'm here to give some new info. Here with a new YouTube relationship lecture of mine, and this one is based off of the movie titled The Choice. The Choice. And it's that relationship, that lovey-dovey type relationship movie. And I'm gonna go ahead and get right to it. I know it's been a while. It's been a while for a variety of things. These lectures, I just like to get to them when I really feel open and relaxed to them. I want to avoid making this feel like work to me, and that's what I love about being self-employed is I can avoid the work that I put out and the work that I do. I can avoid it being feeling like work to me, like the average person who works a regular 9 to 5 job. So I'm very, very fortunate of that. Okay, so and also the other thing is I've been trying to find new ways to um record, because the old way that when I was recording, it was with Windows XP, but now I upgraded it. And I was way back, way back. I have an older laptop, and it's definitely time for me to get a new. I want a MacBook Pro. So that's what I'm focused on now. So hopefully by the next time you hear my next lecture, it'll be more crisp. But anyways, the description of this movie, The Choice, I have my notes here usual, as usual. And the description of this movie is, it says Travis and Gabby first meet as neighbors in a small coastal town and wind up in a relationship that is tested by life's most defining events. And you know what? One thing that I forgot to tell you, I forgot to do my usual intro. Well, maybe not usual, but every so often I go ahead and do a brief synopsis of my background. Okay, what I am is a human relationship anatomist. I study, observe, examine, and analyze human relationships. And this started years and years back in the mid 2000s after one of my relationships with a female that I was in a relationship with. And then I sat down one day, and then I just heard, and then I out loud, I said to myself, man, what am I to do next? Then I said, you know what, I'm gonna just go to the next relationship and just and just move on to the next one. And then now that I think about it years later, that's typically what the average person does. They don't sit and think about what they did wrong and what they should have done so that they'll be prepared for the next time. So when I asked that question out loud and clear, I heard a voice in my head that said, what makes you think that you're prepared for the next relationship? And I said to myself, like, man, that is true. I never really thought about that. And then I just sat there for like maybe 5 minutes, just saying to myself, like, man, I do not know what the fuck I'm doing with this relationship thing. So after I said that, I moved on to studying, and I said to myself, I said out loud, well, where's the best place to start? And then some way, somehow, I just got started, like reading everything that involved relationships, everything I can get my hands on. Magazines like Psychology Today was a big one for me throughout the years. Psychology Today has a lot of stuff about relationships and human psychology, and from reading those magazines and actually observing how psychology works, I see psychology has a huge effect on human behavior, which is the cause of human behavior actually anyways, but it has a lot to do with human relationships, and people have to really study psychology if you really want to understand human relationships. Books also, I've been studying books. I've read like the book Straight Talk for Men about marriage. That one was heavy because that book right there is what got me started on my own self-reflection, self-analysis, and self-development throughout the years that allowed me to get to where I am now. I'm on a much higher development level than before, than ever. So that book, and then there's another book titled, I think it's called "The Five Hidden Secrets of Human Behavior" or something like that. I'll see if I can put it in the description. If not, then just send me a comment and ask me a question about it. It was something like that. So that's that. And then the other thing throughout my years, I just been literally observing, examining human relationships in person, like studying different couples. I first started like at the age of 16. I started by observing my family. You have to start studying your family if you have not already, because as I said in one of my other lectures, that every family has a family pattern, a pattern of behavior that you have to observe and consider if you want to continue on with that family behavior. And I've been doing that for years and seeing all of the patterns that's in my family, and I've been changing myself so that I can avoid those very patterns. So, speaking with couples also, so I did that, speaking with a variety of couples, and many times I might not even speak with the couples. Like now that for the past few years, I've been on a very high intuitive level, so I can just be like at a mall and sitting on a bench and then seeing a couple either behind me, around me, anywhere where I have them in my view. I can see what's going on, what's the underlining issue, and what's the cover up that the individuals are covering up, because that's what a lot of people do in their relationships. There's one major or more underlining issues that they have under their behavior, and then their behavior will just cover it up, and it'll be something that's masking that underlining issue. And this is a lot with a lot of couples, and just like the average couples that I've studied, and this is just in general with couples everywhere, pretty much, because very few couples know and realize that there's underlining issues that they have within their psyche that they have to recognize, analyze, and resolve. Because if they don't, then the same things are going to be happening, the same issues every time in that same relationship. And if they try to quit that relationship and move on to another one, then the same shit is just going to keep happening. So, so it's years of all of those things, and actually meditating, also meditating where I can just sit still and then get a clearer picture of human relationships in general. I use the analogy of human relationships being a big, huge, humongous picture that the average person fails to step back and observe. So, so doing all of this studying and investigating allows me to step back and look at the picture. And then when I figuratively look at the picture, I'm like, whoa, this thing is huge. It's a lot. So every time I see something interesting, I would zoom in on those different parts of the picture, analyze it, step back and say, okay, this is that. So this is why this is happening. So I have to watch out for this, and then teach people about this, and this. And this it's so much that I've discovered regarding human relationships, and there's so much for me to discover. So I'm still learning as the days go on and on. And as you guys can see, for the people who have been a part of my committed relationship um, Facebook group, you can see all of the things that I've learned also, because I post up a lot of the new stuff that I learned also. So if you haven't checked that out, committed relationships, informative group about relationships. That's the title of the my relationship group on Facebook, so you can check that out. So that's that, and that's my brief background about how I got started. and I thought that was necessary. And I also wrote a book about it. I wrote a book explaining my basic insights regarding human relationships. I felt like most people had to learn those insights that I have gained, and I say basic because I got a lot of advanced stuff too that most people are not ready for until they get those basics completed first. And that's self-reflection, self-analysis, and self-development first. So you got to get that done. Then maybe I'll I'll figure out when's the time is ready to start teaching people intermediate insights so they can comprehend those. But now to the movie. This movie, it was a cheesy ass movie, typical romantic movie. So you know how that goes. It's like it's not even worth $10. I say like $5. Me, I saw it free 2 times. Don't ask me how. I'm not gonna tell you. But let's go right into the notes that I have here. So what I do is with these relationship lectures that I have here is I break down. I usually will take a movie, and whether it be a romantic movie or any other movie, I observe, examine, and analyze the relationship aspect of the movie, and I use that as source material to break it down for you guys, and I bring the information to you, and I write down the notes, think them over, and then I bring it to you through YouTube or whatever way I feel is necessary. And I add to my notes to let you guys know what I have learned throughout my and years of investigation of human relationships, what I have learned, and from my observation of actually studying this on my own personal study. Because as you guys know, that there's no school that teaches human relationships. And most people, from what I have learned throughout my years of investigating this, most people, they learn human relationships from what they see throughout the media, throughout society. There's a small group of parents who have actually learned their lessons so that they can mature and then pass that information on to their children. But there's a lot of people who are still children themselves psychologically. They have children, and then the children grow up just as equal or worse psychologically than their parents. So then it's like the whole family is a bunch of psychological children, grown up children at large. So it's ridiculous, and I see this everywhere, and I see it a lot in my family. Grown up children. So physically they're adults, but psychologically the groups of people are children. They still haven't grown up yet. So children can only pass on so much to other people based on what they have experienced and what they have learned. And these are grown up children these days, and for years. And it's getting worse. I've noticed that it's getting a lot worse with these people. Okay, so first things up is I want to mention about Monica. Well, first things first, this is a spoiler alert if you have not seen the movie The Choice. The Choice, TheChoice, 2 words, The Choice. Then I advise you that you stop this right now and go and watch the movie first so that you can comprehend the different scenes that I'm speaking about here. The first thing I've noticed is that the guy Travis, he never really explained to Gabby at all. And Gabby is Travis' new neighbor, and he never really explained it to her. And the movie never explained what was their previous relationship. If he did, then maybe I don't remember it. If he did, then go ahead and put in the comment section if he did mention it. But I don't recall him talking about Monica much. And to me, intuitively, I feel like that relationship in the past between Travis and Monica was just more of a fling type thing. It really wasn't nothing serious. She might have felt serious feelings for Travis, but based on the way he treats her, he really wasn't into her. He was just using her to as a distraction from whatever else he was into, to wanted to be distracted from, and probably just to fuck her. And I want to tell you guys that if you're not comfortable with cursing, then you're gonna have to find a way to get comfortable with it. Because every so often I do curse to express myself. That's the way I do it. And sometimes cursing makes people feel even more comfortable. And I'm showing that I'm not perfect, and I'm not trying to be perfect in none of my lectures, because I'm not at no college, or I'm not working for anybody, so I could do whatever the fuck I want. So you're gonna have to deal with it. So them two, they wasn't together, so they were still fucking with each other, and I think it still was a fling thing with those two. So then you have Gabby. She came in, and when it's the first scene, one of the early scenes where Gabby was studying during the day, while Travis and his friends were having a cookout, right? And the music was loud. So it's like if you're studying in midday, and she was in the living room that was closest to the door. To me, wouldn't it make sense to either study later on when everybody's gone and out of the front, or find a way to go to the back of the house and study? Because I don't think the music was that loud, and his speakers was not that huge, so I don't think it would go that far. So I was just sitting there just scratching my head like, why the heck is she sitting there in the front? And then she go ahead and she's getting pissed because it's too loud. That just didn't make sense. And Gabby, overall, to me, like based on my second observation of the movie, watching it the second time, she really wasn't that intelligent overall anyways. So with me, yes, she's cute, but if I was Travis and I knew the information that I have now based on human relationships, I wouldn't fuck with Gabby at all. Yeah, I wouldn't do it unless I'm just making it a fling thing. And some of y'all know what I'm talking about, a fling thing. But other than that, nah, I wouldn't make her my girlfriend at all. And I'll go into that later on about why. Let's see here. So, well, actually, now that I think about it, this is a perfect time to mention it. So, think back when Gabby first approached Travis. When she first approached Travis, it was at night, I believe, and she was talking to him about how loud his music was, and she just flat out accused his dog of getting her dog pregnant. And the way she did it, the way she was approaching him with that kind of energy, if I was Travis, like me, just watching it, I'll just say, just watching it, I already know that she's immature based on that energy that she's bringing towards Travis. Then when she just starts accusing him out of nowhere, his dog, of getting her dog pregnant, that was really childish. The way that she presented it to him, without even, number one, taking a deep breath, and speaking to him slowly and in a relaxed tone, and then introducing herself to him, because keep in mind that she didn't even meet him yet. So it makes sense to introduce yourself to another individual, especially your neighbor, before you start talking crap to them. And if you're gonna start talking crap to them, you do it in a certain way, because you don't even know the person and you don't know how they're going to react. So this whole scene right here, after me watching it a second time, that was my sign right then and there that this is an immature young woman, young child, immature young child. And I don't think she even said sorry throughout that whole time at the end of them meeting each other, that first scene. And then Travis is trying to make everything light, which is wise, because she just came out the side of her mouth. She just came out of nowhere just talking crap. So I'm like, wow, that is an crazy way to introduce yourself, especially. Yeah, and I mean, she got off on the wrong foot. She was just thinking of herself the whole time from the start to finish, anyways. So that part, the mature way of handling that situation for Gabby, based on the mature aspect, is first be in your house, take a deep breath, and think about what you want to convey to the individual before you actually step in front of Travis. Let's see, yeah, saying Travis. Think about it and then get out of your emotions. You have to get out of your emotions before you explain things to someone else. You have to get out of your emotions. Take a deep breath and remain calm and speak in a slow tone, a slow enough tone and overall pattern so that the other individual can comprehend you. She came at Travis, extremely angry, and she was still in her emotions. And you know how people get when they're in their emotions, explaining things, especially women in general. So that was a big no-no. The way that she handled it, the way Travis handled it, I thought that was a very creative way of handling it. I don't know if I would handle it that way, but it was creative and it worked. It worked, and it does work through doing it like that, taking the comedic route, depending on some certain things, because sometimes it might not work. So yeah. And also here with my notes, I don't write down notes on every single scene. I only write notes on certain key scenes that I want to explain to people and let them know what's wrong with the scene and how people reacted, and giving them what I feel is a better response in general for that type of situation. So throughout my notes here, you're gonna see me skipping around to different scenes. So don't expect me to write down every scene. So we're gonna skip to the scene where Gabby and her fiance were in their home. I think it was the bedroom, and they were kissing early in the movie. And he was saying something about he has to leave, or no. This was after the first one of the early hospital scenes. I think there was in a hospital room or home room or something like that. So he grabbed her and he said, "Gabby, I wanna speak to you um, alone." This was after early on she was speaking to what's her fiance's name? Ryan. She was speaking to Ryan's father in the hospital because they all work together in the hospital, and then Ryan came through and said that he wanted to speak with her one-on-one. So if you pay attention to the scene again, Ryan and Gabby are kissing each other, right? And they in their romance mode, the romance feelings. You know how that goes. So what he was saying is that he wished that he could handcuff her and keep her still in one area, because he didn't like the fact that she was like moving to a different wing of the hospital or something like that. And what he said is he wished that he can handcuff her and keep her in one area. Now, the average person who doesn't understand psychology and mind control, the way that it was said by Ryan in his silly, jokeable tone of voice, and while he was close and cuddling with her and kissing with her, the average person would have took that lightly and thought that that was just a funny joke. But me understanding psychology and mind control, that I understand that jokes are sometimes truths, and there's an underlining truth with some people under some people's jokes. In that situation right there, I took that as something serious when he said that he wished that he can handcuff her, and then I think he said that he was selfish too. He said that he was selfish first. So right then and there, that was a red flag that let me know, okay, Ryan is number one, he's immature, Number two, he's selfish. And number three, he's a control freak. That right there are red signs. But Gabby, again, she probably didn't have higher training by her parents to let her know the ins and outs of relationships. So she probably didn't recognize that early on, that he was a control freak and immature. And because she was caught up in her feelings, just like a lot of females are, all you got to do is just give them a little romance, and then all they see is what I call fireworks of romance. The fours, fireworks of romance, where everything is all romantic at first for a couple, and then they're all and you know that feeling. And then there's flowers, hugging, kissing, holding hands, going to the movies, and then everybody feels that everything is all okay. But then once those fireworks start to gradually fade out, when people are together a little bit longer, especially if they're starting to live with each other, then the real them starts to pop up, and their errors, their unresolved childhood errors, start to pop up and cause dysfunction within the relationship. That's when you get to see what's really going on behind that behavioral projection. Because every individual, when you meet them, there's a behavioral projection that they put out to the forefront, to the public. And there's only people with certain minds that are at a certain level to be able to perceive beyond that. I'm one of those people, due to my own personal studying and observation and analysis of these types of things. So I can see a lot more just throughout, well, a lot of times just by observing people the first time. But if I can have a conversation with them, that gives me even more information about where they are psychologically. So that's why there's a lot of females that I avoid because of this, because I can see what's going on with them ahead of time. Probably even majority of the time, more than what they know is going on, underlining inside of their psyche. So this is some real deal stuff that people have to really pay attention to if they want to avoid getting involved with the wrong types of people in general in relationships. Okay, so that's that. Let me see what else do I have here. So I'll just make it known right here. Travis, Gabby, and Ryan, all three of these individuals are highly immature individuals. And I'll go into giving examples of that later on throughout this lecture, but keep that in mind. Okay, now let's go to the fair scene at night. First, it's already obvious that by now that Travis is interested in Gabby, right? So Gabby's single. I mean, Travis is single. Gabby's not. But I don't think Gabby introduced and made it known to Travis early on that she's um in a relationship before this fair scene. So Travis acts like he just ran into Gabby at the fair, which he didn't know that she was gonna be there. So this is the scene where Gabby introduces Ryan to Travis. Now, if you look at it, Travis, Gabby, she withholds some important information, and the way that she introduces Ryan to Gabby as if she really didn't want to do that. But now, keep in mind, if two individuals, as far as couples, are in a committed romantic relationship with each other, and they are very serious about the relationship, and it's a strong relationship, and they have strong feelings towards each other, it is highly essential that they make it known to anybody else who has potential feelings that they feel that are anybody else that they meet. They need to make it known early on that they are in a relationship. In particular, situations like with Travis and Gabby. So what Gabby should have done anywhere between the time that she met Travis for the first time that night and all the way up to the fair, she should have made it known to Travis that she's in a serious committed relationship. And even if she made it known like slightly, just slid it in there somehow, or just some other serious way, you still got to let people know. And I'll go into this point later on, because it throughout this movie it's shown me that Gabby and Ryan did not have a serious relationship, and they're not serious about each other. And there's facts about this that I'm going to go into later. So, in the fact number one right here is during that fair scene where Gabby really didn't want to tell Ryan that Travis was her neighbor, because for me, I feel like omitting that type of information is distrust. So her not saying that, if I would have found that out later, and if I was Ryan, I would be really, really pissed, because you have to tell important information to your loved one to let them know, and then give them the information so that they can make decisions later on if they feel is necessary. But she omitted that, and she just said that his he was her vet, and then Travis had to make it known on his own merit that he was her neighbor. But he did it on the slide. He did it on the slide, and he did a lot of things on the slide to let Ryan know, like, look, this is what's going on. But Gabby was being the same immature little girl that she is, and she's withholding important information. She's just completely lost. And I'm telling you, you guys, this is why you have to study relationships by yourself, because these movies and these TV family dramas and just dramas in general, they are programming your mind. If you have not developed your mind to a high level so that you can be protected from these mind programs that these TV programmers and writers are doing, which these writers and these movies, Hollywood is a highly advanced secret society, and they know what they're doing with these movies, and they're programming people. So, for example, with this Gabby, they just programming these young females to be obsessed with that romance. I'm telling you, it's a romance propaganda that's been going on for years, getting people obsessed with obtaining romance, and not really looking beyond that romance. So it's like they don't have the information, the knowledge of what else is beyond that. So it's like once the romance fades, most people don't know what to expect and what to do right after that. And that's why a lot of people go through divorces and breakups, because they don't know what the fuck they are doing, and they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the mind right. That's why I say in chapter 2, I think it's chapter 2, it's either 1 or chapter 2 in my book, get your mind right. You have to get that right first before you move into a relationship. So that's that. Okay. Let's see here. What else would I ever say? So she didn't mention to Ryan that Travis is her neighbor up front. That was a big no-no on Gabby's side. Okay, now do you remember when Gabby was sitting, I think it was like the next scene of the movie after the fair scene, Gabby was standing on the porch and she was looking at Travis, and Travis was getting ready to go on a boat ride with his friends. And Gabby standing there on her porch, she was looking at Travis way too long. I'm telling you, let me see, what can I call them? Eye gazes. Yeah, eye gazes. When you focus your attention too long on an individual, when a person does that, that can mean a variety of things. But the way that she was gazing at him, you can tell that she was starting to get interested in him, and this was a big no-no on her part. She was sitting, she was thinking about him too long when she needed to be thinking about Ryan and their relationship and what she needs to do next to make it even better, a stronger relationship. But again, this is what this is it pisses me off. Like, now that I observe this and I see this going on a lot with men. But in this movie, this is another movie that shows a man being preoccupied and too occupied with his field of work, and then leaving his woman away on her own somewhere else. Leaving your woman or even your man, whichever way it is, in any situation alone, and you're supposed to be in a relationship with them or even building a relationship with them, leaving them alone for long periods of time allows the person's mind to wander off into wonderland and to gradually get attached to someone or something else that will potentially distract them away from your relationship, and it'll decrease the strength of your relationship. And this movie is a great example of that. This whole movie. And it started early on when Ryan left for a so-called few weeks. And he left his girl, his woman, alone by herself. And she's on the porch looking and fantasizing about another man. A huge, huge no, people. No, you can't do that. If you're going to do that, then you have to call in and text at least, but preferably call more, at least once a day if possible, or once every other day, to have a good conversation with that individual, at least for like 5 to 10 minutes, maybe longer, to keep the image of you and the thought of you in the other individual's mind. And let me see if I go into that anytime soon. Oh, right. And I'll go into that right now. Yeah, because if you think about it, the big oh no for Ryan is when he was away for a few weeks, he failed to call Gabby often and to check in with her and to see where their relationship is and to make sure that everything is right. But what he did is he did the typical thing that males do when they're preoccupied with their work of any sort. They leave their woman to the side, and then sometimes for some men they're off fucking around with other females. So to you ladies out there, if your man has to be away for a long period of time and he doesn't call in and check in on you and is not having a good conversation with you, there's a highly likely chance that he's off with at least one or more females. Because based on my observation and examination and analysis of this, whenever a male, in particular these modern day males, because these modern day males, I say because they're not men, they're men, they're boys in the appearance of men. That's what I wrote. That's the title of one of my articles on my blog. My blog titled Committed Relationships.wordpress.com, and I'll put it in the description. And it's explaining that the so-called men these days, they don't have the psychology, the mindset of of a real man, a mature adult man. They're little boys trying to appear as men, just like many women these days are little girls in the appearance of women. They're projecting a image of an adult, but psychologically they haven't internalized what an adult is. So with me being intuitive and studying this, I can perceive beyond all of this projections that people put in front into the world. So the other thing is, I've seen it with barbers. I've seen it with managers, CEOs of companies. As long as these males are alone for long periods of time with these employees, customers, whatever, and they're females, there's a highly likely chance that they're gonna fall for the temptation, whether it be temptation that the females intentionally bring forward to the males or just them being there is temptation. Very few males actually have a strong enough mind to resist the temptation of being around a group of females, especially if they're gorgeous females with whatever it is that the males are interested in. And in long periods of time separated from their woman can just fade out of their minds, and then they're focused on the new female, and then boom, cheating starts, and it just goes downhill from there. So it's something that you ladies got to think about ahead of time. I'm telling you, I see this time and time again, and these men don't know how to how to control themselves. Their head upstairs or downstairs. So that's that. So overall, for Ryan, his big issue that he did wrong was he left Gabby alone way too long, and him not calling or even texting her to see how she's doing. That was a big mistake for him, and that's why he lost Gabby to Travis. And I was not shocked at all. I seen it from the start that this dude, like when he called her while she was at the hospital, where he said, "Sorry, I didn't call sooner." I think this was probably the very first time that he called her after he left, and we don't even know how long that was. If I had to guess, I would say like it's been at least 2 months, if not. If not, he said he's supposed to be gone for a few weeks, but you don't know. We don't know, so it could have been like 2 months before he actually called her, and then she probably forgot about him. She was, if you look at her face, she's like, "Oh shit, I forgot about you." Now that's terrible. If you're supposed to be about to get married and you so-called are in a relationship with the person and you forgot about them until they called you, now that's fucked up right there for real. So he messed up big time. Let's see what else we got here. um the father of Travis, you remember that scene where they were in the vet office and the little girl, her gazelle or lizard died, and then Travis' father, the doctor, he just switched her lizard with a new one and then said that it's the same one. So if you really sit down and think about it, the second time I watched it, because the first time I watched it in the movie theater, and then I watched this the second time like 2 or 3 months later, and then I realized, it occurred to me like, wait a minute, his father is teaching his son to lie in general, but to lie to females. And this is another subliminal, people, another subliminal being put into these Hollywood movies to lie, when in actuality all they have to do is just find some other way to tell the truth, but at the same time figure out something that will soften the truth, or to make the young girl still feel okay so she can move forward. In my opinion, the way to handle this, I would say tell her the truth and tell her that death does occur in people's lives, and that this is what happens sometimes when people have pets. Just tell her the truth, keep it real with her, because the little girl has to grow up anyways. So you got to keep it keep it real with these young children. And that's the reason why a lot of so-called adults are still children, because they wasn't raised and developed into adults psychologically. So he was still teaching to lie to people, and that was not right. And Travis, he knew that wasn't right at first, but the dumb mother effer still went on with the scheme. He didn't stand up. He just fell for it. So that right there to me shows that Travis, he is not a stand-up guy at all. Yeah, he's not a stand-up guy, and there's a lot of men that's like him overall and with certain characteristics. So if I was Gabby and I knew the information that I had now, after I saw that and I saw that Travis didn't put up a fight, I would know that okay, Travis is pussy, so I wouldn't fuck with him. For real. Okay, so we skipped to the and my notes here. I got Gabby on a boat, not a good idea. Travis likes her and chance of more alone time. Look at this, people. I have to get this across. Okay, number one, Gabby should know by now that Travis likes her. And it's obvious that Gabby likes Travis. Now, Gabby, considering she's in a relationship already, if she had the knowledge, she would know, like, wait a minute. Even though there's friends, his friends on the boat with me, his friends, there's other people. It's still not a good idea for me to be on the boat with Travis unless Ryan is with me. Because here's the deal, people. Men like Travis and also women like Travis who have his mindset when they are interested in an individual as far as romantically and even sexually, it doesn't matter if they have people in the vicinity um, that might so-called be there to do whatever to prevent him or her from making a move. People are highly clever, and for years people like Travis, when they're interested in someone, they are highly clever. So there's a high chance that they're going to find a way to get alone time with the other individual. And I knew that as soon as she get on this boat, if she gets on this boat, he's going to find a way to get her alone, and then he's going to start flirting with her. And lo and behold, that's exactly what he did. And this is what happens, you guys. If you're already in a relationship with someone and you know that there's somebody that's interested in you, you either don't go with that person, um, with that group that has the other person that likes you, but that's not your mate, or you bring your mate with you. You bring your mate with you, and go wherever it is with that individual. I mean, with the group. You have to make sure it's a group setting, and you have to make sure that there's no alone time with the person that is interested in you, or if both of you are interested in each other, but you know that you're not supposed to be alone with that person. So just stay focused on keeping it a group thing. If you go alone, then you have to have strong discipline to avoid as much alone time with that individual as possible, because there's going to be feelings that might rise in during that alone time. And another big no-no for Gabby is when she took off her shirt. She could have had a shirt that was light because it was probably hot. She did not have to have a bikini top at all. But her taking off that her shirt, that was a big no-no in my opinion, especially knowing that Travis is interested in her. It's just gonna flare up his male ego even more. And see, people, this relationship thing is all about consciousness, your awareness of your environment, and the mentality of the individuals around you. Once you are aware of all of this stuff and you think wisely before you say and do things, then you can be better off setting up for whatever it is you want to set up to make things successful. But people they're on average, they think like Gabby and Travis. They're just completely oblivious and they just go along with their feelings without thinking logically about what to do and why to do something and why not to do something. So this whole first experience of Gabby being on the boat for the first time, she was just all willy nilly with it. She was acting like she was a single female, and that is another sign that she does not have a strong relationship with Ryan at all. Think about it. Okay, so as I said that she was gonna find they was gonna find alone time with each other. I just dropped my notes. They was gonna find more alone time with each other. Now I knew that. I just foreshadowed that the first time I saw this movie, and they did it. Lo and behold, they did it, and she put her shirt on for a brief moment. If you look at it, she put her shirt back on, which was wise. I was like, oh, okay, she put her shirt back on. But then again, she took her shirt off again when she was on the little beach, the sand or whatever. And he was looking at her, and I was like, oh man, here we go again. She flaunting her big titties, and them things. When she took that off, I was like, whoa. but I'll keep this a little bit clean at least. I won't go into further detail about what I thought about her chest, but man, I just got to say that I was impressed with her chest. Her chest. Well, however you say it. Okay. So they were sitting down. If you notice, they both were flirting a lot more, and she was flirting a lot more with Travis. Now, keep in mind, she's supposedly supposed to be with Ryan. Ryan is her fiance or her boyfriend, whatever you want to call it. I thought they were supposed to get married. So, being in a situation like that, she really shouldn't be flirting like she's a single female. That was another big no-no. And if I was Ryan and I heard what was going on or saw what was going on while I wasn't there, I would be highly, highly pissed at this female seeing all of this shit. So that's that one. Keep that in mind too. That's another thing that's going on with this young female. So guess what she did? She asked, and then later on that night, or I think after the boat ride, she asked Travis to dinner. It's like, come on now. I'm saying to myself, when is this mother effer gonna stop acting like she a single female? It's like, damn. And that's plays a part when I said that Ryan has left Gabby alone way too long. Their proximity there's a gap in their proximity way too long. You got to at least keep in contact with your loved one through phone or some way to keep them occupied with you. But this, oh my God, this Ryan dude, he left her way too long. So now Gabby is longing for a male figure in her life at that moment. And it should have been Ryan, but Ryan, he was gone. So too bad for you, you dumb idiot. You didn't know what you was doing. So she asked Travis to dinner, and I was like, oh no. I put down my head. I was like, no, that's not what you do. So she kept doing that. So she went on with that, and she did it. I thought she was gonna either play around with Travis or she was gonna cancel it like at the last minute. But when he opened the door and she had the food and stuff in there, I was like, wow, she's serious. I was like, no. I thought that was a terrible idea because they already had the experience on the boat, and she opened him up and he had her open, like open, like, okay, I'm gonna fuck her tonight open. And she was trying to front, playing hard to get, and that's how a lot of females do. They front up front, whether they with a man or not, like as far as in a relationship or not. So she was playing hard to get, and it. Well, I'm not gonna tell y'all any advanced secrets about how to get past um, that little psychological security of a female, because there is ways to get bypass that. But this movie did give a few giveaways about how to bypass it, but only certain people will probably be able to observe it and identify it. But I identified a little bit of it. There's still some things that he could have did and got with her early fast, because she didn't have much psychological defense, and that's the advanced information. I'm not gonna share that here. I might have to make y'all pay for that. So, um, okay, let me see. So that was that. So they had the dinner, right? And they was already connecting when they was at dinner on the porch and having that the God conversation, and he had that emotional connection with her. And I'm telling you, fellas, that's all you got to do. That's the first part. You got to have that emotional connection with a female, and then a lot of times after that, it's smooth sailing. As long as you can keep your shit together, psychologically and emotionally, and you don't get jealous, and you don't allow your ego to take over, it's just smooth sailing after that. Once you connect with a woman emotionally, and that's why I know for me, I'm not gonna go into details with that. All right, that's enough. Um, so guess what he said? So this is what Travis said. When he was in the kitchen, he said, "I thought you were going to just whip something up. I might as well get on my knees right now." So, first things first, he's conveying that, all right, well, I thought this was just gonna be a quick little dinner. We're just gonna chat and then just leave. But what she did, she whipped up something big and worthwhile, be, be, because she was intending to do more than just dinner. She really was into this motherfucker. So she went all out. Again, a big no-no that sends the wrong message coming from an individual who is in a relationship with another individual. Big no-no. So then what he said, he might as well get on his knees right now. So he's interested in a long-term relationship. Boom. Remember when I said when people crack jokes? A lot of times there's underlining truths under those jokes. So this dude, he's serious about a relationship with her. Because if he wasn't, us men, if we're not interested in a female romantically for a long-term relationship, we definitely would not mention marriage. We would stay away from that word as much as possible. But this dude, he mentioned marriage without mentioning it, because you already, unless hey, listen to this though. Unless when he said he might as well get on his knees, maybe he meant something else. Who's to say that he was mentioning marriage? Think about it. But I'm just saying, for me, the first thing that came to mind is marriage. But I'm just saying, he might have meant to something else when he said getting on his knees. And they in the kitchen, they can get their freak on right there in the kitchen. So just think about it though. But anyways, let me move on to the to the next one. Okay, so what we got here is this time right here while they're in the kitchen while she's cooking. That that time right there where he was talking about he might as well get on his knees. That is Gabby's moment where she can hammer it into Travis' mind that she is in a serious with relationship with Ryan, and she is serious about Ryan. She already introduced Ryan and Travis early on in the movie at the fair, so Travis is supposed to already remember, like, okay, this is not a single female. But guess what? Gabby still has the single mentality, the single mindset. So she's walking around flaunting her shit, flaunting her titties and whatever else, as if she's still single. So to Travis, being an undisciplined male, as a large portion of males are, they're undisciplined and easy to manipulate psychologically, mind control. Especially you just throw a female in front of their face with big titties or whatever they're interested in. So he's not gonna stop and say, like, wait a minute, okay, she's in a relationship, so I need to step away. But no, she's still flirting with him. So in his head, he's saying, like, okay, well, she's not mentioning that she's in a relationship and she's not holding back. So I'm gonna go along. I'm gonna go along with this, and that's how the average male thinks. He's gonna go along with it as long as she doesn't uh, put up any resistance. He's gonna keep going on along with it. So at this time with the dinner, this was her time to hammer it into Travis' mind that she's in a relationship and she's serious about Ryan. But again, she didn't. Oh my God! Now that I think about it, did she ever even mention Ryan in during that whole time that they was in dinner, at dinner with each other? Think about it. Did Gabby mention Ryan positively about them two being together and what they're gonna do in the future and how she loves him? Just think about it. I don't think she mentioned that at all. Mentioned Ryan at all during that time. And again, it shows that she's not serious about Ryan, and she probably has uh, negative feelings towards him as far as a relationship. So she doesn't want him right now. At least she doesn't want him at this point in the movie. And Travis is giving her what she wants. And men, when you give a woman what she wants, you can do a lot with her. And that's advanced information. I'm gonna keep that withheld because I know some stuff. Boy, oh boy! And this Travis is he doing it, whether he doing it intentionally or unintentionally, but he doing it. He's doing it to get into that lady's pants, and you know what's about to happen after that. Let me see here. I already mentioned that Gabby doesn't take her relationship seriously. She wasn't updating Ryan at all on what her and Travis was doing, have been doing. Because again, if you are in a serious committed relationship with an individual, you have to be as honest as possible, and you have to communicate with them all of anything in particular that might potentially disrupt the relationship at all. And all the way from when she was neighbors with Travis, all the way down to up until that point with the dinner, she should have been mentioning all of that information to Ryan, so that Ryan can stop and think like, wait a minute, hold on. She asked this motherfucker to dinner, and she didn't even ask me to come and be there, be present at all. Right then and there, I would have been pissed. And that's the reason why she probably didn't tell him. And see, she's not relationship material. And if I was Travis, well, if I was Travis, oh no, I'm not even going to that. Going to that, yeah. What I would do, because it's only certain people like females like her, fellas. It's only certain things you can do with them, but relationship material, you don't do stuff like that with females like her. She's not on guard on a lot of things, and she's not relationship material. So I wouldn't fuck with her on a relationship aspect like that, a serious one, committed serious one. But let's see here. Um, so situations like that, I want to tell you, when you're in a relationship, you avoid. Yeah, yeah. All right, look at this. So I'm gonna give you the resolution. So a situation like that, if this was a business situation where you have to be with the opposite sex, and it turns out that one or both of you have feelings towards each other, if it's a business meeting or you have to talk business over dinner, still find a way to bring at least a third wheel, a third person or more, to just make it awkward and avoid being alone if you guys can. If there's a way to do that, then figure that out. And I got to tell you guys also, when people say it's a business meeting and they're alone a lot with the opposite sex, or well, nowadays it's a lot going on nowadays. So that's why you gotta investigate people even longer and more these days psychologically, and give them psychological assessments so you can know what the fuck you're getting involved with. But the longer we're just talking about, let's just say heterosexuals right now, the longer that individuals like Gabby and Travis are alone with each other, the more than likely they're going to develop some kind of romantic feelings toward each other, even if it is so-called just business, because a lot of people use that as an excuse to be with the other person. When they say just business, it's just business, but still it could be just sex going on, or it can be an emotional connection that they're having emotional sex with each other. So it's a lot that goes on psychologically that people don't know and realize. And this is why I said you got to study this stuff and learn it. And I'll give you guys whatever I can, whatever I feel is important, but you got to do the rest of the work to get the information. So you got to think about that. And before getting romantically involved, another thing is you got to consider the person's occupation. Just like I mentioned in my lecture of the movie, what was that other movie? I think it was my second or third lecture. The movie about the little kid that got hit, and it was those immature adults arguing over the kid. Whatever it's called, whatever that movie was called. I said in that lecture that you got to consider the person's occupation, because if the person's occupation requires a lot of their time, then there's a chance that you won't be able to have a strong relationship with that individual, because that individual is so occupied with their work as Ryan was, and you can see what can happen. So y'all need to really think about that person's occupation before you go ahead and say, okay, I want to be in a relationship with this person. Think about it. Okay, so obviously, as I mentioned, that Gabby is not serious about Ryan. So the first things first, Gabby should have prevented that first kiss that Travis gave her when it was in the kitchen. You remember that scene right there? And that was in the trailer, actually. That was in the trailer. She absolutely, if she was serious about Ryan, she would absolutely avoid allowing Travis to kiss her. She allowed it, she liked it, and you know she was serious about Travis when she made that little spin to the refrigerator. Think about it. All right, do you remember that little spin that she did when Travis was walking back into the kitchen and he said, "Did you just spin?" And I saw that little spin. She was like, "No." Now look, this is what I mean by psychology. There's underlining child-like behavior under, well, behind people's adult behavior projections. And that little spin to the refrigerator that she did, that was one of her child behaviors that manifested into that little spin, indicating that she got what she wanted, and what she wanted was having Travis to herself and in her kitchen by themselves so that they can do whatever they wanted to do. So if you think about it, I think, and now that I think about it, I think Gabby was a little freak, and then she was a little sexual freak, and she probably wanted some you know what. She wanted some tail, and she knew that she was getting ready to get it, and she was happy. She was happy, even if that wasn't on her mind. Just think about it. Even if that wasn't on her mind at the time, she was just happy that she got some attention from a male. And that could be another underlining childhood issue that she has, and that's her not getting the adequate amount of attention from her father. And that's how it is with a lot of females and with males too. If they don't get an adequate amount of attention, affection from their parents, either of their parents, is going to manifest, that need is going to manifest later on in their life. And if I had to guess, based on Gabby's behavior, her father didn't give her adequate amount um, of alone time so that she can get that love that she needs, that a child needs. And she was just desperate for it, and she got it from Travis. So she jumping around like a little girl, like yes, 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 like a high school girl or an elementary girl. When something happens that the boy that she has a crush on, when she achieves something. So she's jumping around, hey, yeah. You know what I'm talking you know what I'm talking about. I've been there before with females, and when I saw that little spin, I already knew what time it was. So she's still, that's another indication for me, at least psychologically, that's another indication that she's still a child and she hasn't grown up yet. Think about it. Think about it. All right, so the other thing is, after she should have prevented that first kiss of Travis from Travis, that was her time that she should have mentioned her terms and conditions on them two spending alone time with each other. Because number one, if you think about it, and I just now thought about it, like, okay, Gabby is new to that area, and she was on the boat with the other females too, and with Travis. Why the fuck did she not connect with the other females and had them at the dinner with Travis, so it can be the girls, Travis, and Gabby at least, if not the rest of the other people, the two guys and Travis' sister. Again, this is psychological, people. This is psychological. This is psychology. Her intentions was to get Travis by herself. This is the type of stuff you got to be conscious of if you're going to deal with people in general. You got to be conscious. You got to be aware of what to do and not to do. So if she wanted to be friends with everybody and get to know everybody, she would have invited everybody. But guess who she invited? Only Travis. We didn't see anywhere else in the movie. If it was, then show me and let me know. Maybe I missed it, but she didn't mention that she invited anybody else other than Travis to dinner. She just said, Travis, I'm having dinner. Will you join me or whatever later on tonight? Bam. That says that she wanted him. She's still locked in on him. She's not serious about Ryan, people. So get that out of your head by now. Okay, what I have here now is when they got into bed with each other. They got into bed with each other at least twice, probably. But for me, getting into bed with them two getting into bed with each other just once, that's a big, huge oh no no. Big, huge oh no no. And they went over the top with this one, and I was like, oh no, they really in it. They all in now. And then when she woke up, she was all girly feeling. She was happy, and then she was reading his note that he left her, which never mind. I won't say nothing about the notes. But that's a big no-no. The other thing I have here is under the stars for special moments. You remember when they were under the stars and he brought her to that area where they can look at the stars? That is a situation where you save for somebody who you feel is special and that you're either in a relationship with or you're dating or something like that. This dude Travis, he brought her to that place, and it's obvious by now that he's highly interested in her. And I just thought that that was a big no-no that he shouldn't have done if he respected her being in a relationship with Ryan or whoever it would be, whether it be Ryan or anybody else. That's just a big no-no. You don't do special things like that with someone who is in a relationship already. That just brings emotional closeness, especially if you do it to females. You don't do it to females because it really opens them up. Well, that's advanced information, so I gotta withhold that. So all right, so that's that. That was a big no-no too. So that's two no-nos already. Big no-nos. Okay, then you got Ryan. He called for the second time, and I think between his first and second time calling, that probably was at least a month or longer. And him not calling frequently, I already went into that. So that's effed up right there on his part. So all of this, people, is showing you immaturity and irresponsibility. This whole movie, I'm telling you, and most people who are unconscious of what's going on, they're just following, going along with the movie and just going like, "Oh, how nice and how cute," and yada yada yada, thinking that this romance stuff is all nice and stuff, but they're not really being aware of all of these small, minor, but major decision making by both parties, by all parties involved. And that's why you have me breaking down these movies and letting you know what's what, so that you can become aware of it and then know what to do the next time. All right. Oh, okay. So now I have the scene where they were on the dock, where Ryan's parents were on the dock with Gabby. They were at dinner, right? Remember that scene? It was at night, and Travis happened to be there, or I don't know how the heck he was on the dock also, but he saw that Gabby was um. Let me see here. Man, I got this stuff all over the place. He that time where he saw Ryan and Gabby, he was a little jealous. He was very jealous, but he was covering up under his so-called adult behavior. But then, as you see, when they got to the side by themselves, Gabby and Travis, that's when their immaturity and untrained, undisciplined minds start to come to the forefront. And this is what I mean, people, by the behavioral projection that the average person displays in public, but when they go through times of distress and when they're behind closed doors, when certain people aren't looking, that's when the true them comes up with all of their unresolved errors pops up, and then you start to see like, okay, this person is not an adult. So that's why I tell people as best possible is to avoid getting overly excited and obsessed with an individual until you see them, how they react through times of distress and how they handle the times of distress. A lot of people really haven't been aware of this, but that's when you see them. Just like I think there was a Martin Luther King quote where he said, "You don't judge a man through his happy times," or something like that. You see him how he handles times of distress, or something like that, something of that nature. And that is really, really true. I didn't know what that really meant when I first read it years ago in my elementary years. However, now me studying human relationships, I'm like, oh, okay, this is what he means. And this scene right here is a great example of that. You can see that these are not adults at all. Psychologically, they're children. Because Travis, he number one, he out of both of them, out of all of them, should not be angry at Gabby or Ryan. Because he is the third wheel. He's the one that was brought into it, and he had a choice to say no. And he knew that her and Ryan were together. At the same time, Gabby was the one who brought him in and who enticed him, but she didn't put a gun to his head and say, "Look, you got to get in bed with me." And that's what women do. They entice men, and men do that to women also. So it's like you got to be conscious of it. Do you want to do it? Is it worth it? What will happen in the future if you end up doing something like this? See, stuff like that you got to think about, people. You really, really do. Okay, this is another thing that I picked up the second time I watched this movie, and I didn't pick it up the first time, but this really, really rung in on me. And what I have written down here is there are times when a person has a perfect relationship match regarding another person while already in a relationship with an individual. Now listen to this. What I mean by this is this. A person can be, let's say we already have a couple. Let's say we have Ryan and Gabby, right? Ryan and Gabby, they are already in a relationship with each other, but both of them, they are undisciplined psychologically and untrained regarding relationships and life in general and adulthood. And that's the average American. I'll say American because Americans is all I've been studying, so I can't say anywhere else. So the average American literally is undisciplined and untrained for relationships especially, but in life in general. and I can point out all the factors. Where you just put somebody in front of me, I can tell you where they're untrained at. Um, so them two, they're not aware of if both of them are a relationship match. There's a difference between being a friendship or an associate match versus being a committed relationship match. And a lot of people have been trained to think that because two people have a few things in common, they like being around each other, they hug, they kiss, they hold hands, that they're relationship material for each other. No, that definitely is not. You have to be psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually on point with each other, on the same page, if you want the relationship to last, to have longevity. This is something that most people aren't aware of because they get caught up in the fireworks of romance. And these movies, TV shows, and magazines, I'm telling you, it's romance propaganda, getting you caught up in the fireworks of romance, where when two people get together, they like each other early on in the dating process, and literally all they see is fireworks, just like Alicia Keys. All I see is fireworks. For real. That's all they see. They can't see anything beyond that romance. And then once that romance fades, they're like, oh shit, this sucks. And you married people, you know what I'm talking about, how everything was lovey-dovey early on, and then probably like either a few months to a year later, you living together, and you're like, oh damn, she don't clean up, or he doesn't clean up. All he does is watch TV. He's sitting around eating, and yada yada yada. And that's how it is when people are not aware of this, and they're not thinking this stuff out ahead of time. Which marriage for me is a big no-no. I already analyzed that, and that is a huge trap on various levels as far as the marriage that society teaches people. That ceremony, that's what it is. It's a ceremony. It's not marriage. It's a ceremony with the wedding. Marriage is on an esoteric spiritual level, is when two people have sex with each other, and they combine their energy with each other. Not this European marriage where you got to go ahead and have all these papers and all that crap. A lot there are people who have thought this out, and they know that marriage is not a good thing and it's best to avoid it. But you who's listening to this, you got to think this out yourself. And before you get married, if anybody out there, go ahead, you got to do some more thinking. I'm telling you, it's a lot going on, and there's a lot of people getting divorces, and you got to think about this before you go ahead and go through this. And you got to learn to perceive beyond the fireworks of romance. The four, FOR, fireworks of romance, where it's all pretty. You know fireworks are, where you see the fireworks in the air, and it's just boom, boom, all those beautiful colors, and you're not you're not aware of anything else around you. You more than likely you're not, and all you see is those beautiful colors, right? And that's the same thing with the romance. And this is a romance propaganda, and I'm gonna go ahead and get into that. Oh, but first, let me go back and mention what I was talking about, Gabby and Travis. So, what happened with them is what I mean by sometimes you can find a perfect match, relationship match for you while you're in a relationship. This is a good example right here. This movie, Gabby and Ryan. In this movie, they were in a relationship where they weren't a relationship match. They weren't. They were just really two associates that um, wanted that romance, and they loved that romantic feel. But that doesn't mean that they needed to be in a relationship with each other, a committed long-term relationship with each other. So what Gabby got when Ryan was off doing his thing, which he says business, but a lot of people, in particular men, when they're off in business and they saying it's business, they got to go on a business trip. I'm telling you, ladies, a lot of times it's not just a business trip. What they show you in those movies, a lot of men are really doing those extra things with other females. But you don't know this because you don't study this, and many people, many females in America have been cut off from their intuition, so they can't just know if their man is off with another female while she's at home. Because you can tell this, because intuitively your intuition goes beyond time and space and through walls and all of that. You can just know what's going on, but that's advanced information, so I'm gonna save that for another time. Okay, so let's go here. Do you remember Gabby mentioned what her and Travis were doing together? Wait a minute, let me see here. Oh, okay, right. When she wrote that letter to Travis, like later on in the movie, when he was sitting down in front of his house, and she wrote a letter to Travis telling her that she talked to Ryan about what Travis and Gabby were doing together, right? You remember that letter way later on, and she said that Ryan got angry and he yelled at her, and which I already knew that that's probably what he was gonna do anyways once he found out what them two were doing, because it already showed that he was childish. He was psychologically a child, and he just had the appearance of being an adult by being a doctor, especially. That's another big cover up for a lot of people. And these doctors are still psychologically children too. And you put me in front of them, and I'll tell you if they're still a child or not. It's deep underlining. Here, I'll tell you this. Within a person's mind, you have various levels, but the one that they project the most is the one that they want seen throughout their life in public. But under that layer, that public layer, there's tons and tons of unresolved errors that's just sitting there, and they pop up during certain times within relationships with other people, and just they get triggered from a variety of other things. And these are unresolved, both unresolved childhood issues and a variety of other unresolved issues, because the average person, when they go through a so-called negative experience, instead of doing what they should do and actually sit down and figure out what needs to be resolved within themselves first, and what they can learn from that experience, that negative experience, so that they can move on and make better decisions in the future. What the average American does is they just find a way to get distracted from that experience, and then they just move right forward, thinking that everything is okay. And that's what a lot of people have done throughout the years. They jump to adulthood. And parents, what I've noticed, what I've learned throughout my studying of human relationships, most parents fail to put their children through what I call a maturity process, a maturity process that allows their child to develop psychologically into an adult so that they can reach adulthood. So the average American parent or parents, they'll do whatever society tells them to do, but they never really stop and think like, okay, hold on, I have to develop my child's mind so that they can be an adult and make the adult decisions. But they don't do that. So then they do the usual things. They go through, they put the child through school, and then after the child graduates from college, if they go to college or high school, then the child jumps straight to the workplace. Boom, that's jumping right into adulthood. But it's like, wait a minute, what happened between the maturity process? What were you doing in between those times that you first put them in pre-K all the way to high school or college? What were you teaching them about adulthood? That deep lessons about how to control your emotions, about how to think before you make decisions, especially decisions that might affect you in the long run. It's adulthood stuff process like this, maturity process like this. It's very few parents that actually do it. So then that's why when I look at certain people who consider themselves as adults, I can see underneath their unresolved childhood, undisciplined child mind. It's the way that they walk, the way that they do certain things is obvious, and it's still there. Some people it's still there and obvious even more than others. I just recently saw a guy. I think he was like in his 20s, and he I won't go into detail, but I can see that he's a big baby. So I'm happy that I can perceive this ahead of time so that I'll know who to get involved with and who not to get involved with. But this is the type of stuff that people gotta pay attention to. It's a maturity process that allows the child to develop psychologically into an adult. And it is possible that a young person at the age of 13 or 14 can have the mind of an adult way before a 60-year-old. Because I'm telling you, there's a lot of 60-year-olds that I'm way more mature than, and you can tell that they are still children based on their decision making and arguing with other people. The majority of the time, there's no need to argue with people, and you can even perceive when they want to argue, and you can find out ways to go around the argument so that you can resolve any type of issue that is at hand. But a lot of people don't realize this because they're still psychologically children. So now back to what I was saying. So back to what I was saying. So with Ryan and Gabby, Gabby was getting what she wanted from Travis, and that's why them two. And then Travis was getting what he wanted from Gabby. So them two were a relationship match, but a relationship how though? It's again they got caught up in the romance, the fireworks of romance, and that's all they saw in each other. Ryan and Gabby, that's all they saw was the fireworks of romance. Travis and Gabby, when they got together, that's all they saw was the fireworks of romance. And then when Travis went to go see Gabby when she was at her parents' house, he said that he loves Gabby. But you got to stop and think, why does he love Gabby? This dude Travis, he didn't do anything that really showed that he was a man. Number one, and he knew how to be a man, because he lied a lot. Well, he lied to the little girl, and he went through with it, and he didn't stand up and say, no, I'm not going to do it. um he two times he stood her up and came late to the date that they planned. That was another thing. Let me see what else. He didn't really explain who Monica was to Gabby, and Monica was his old fling. He didn't really explain it to her and what was really going on with her. It's a whole lot of stuff that this dude Travis did not do that shows that he's not relationship material. And there's a whole lot that Gabby wasn't doing that was showing her that she was a grown woman, a mature adult woman, and she's not. And she did a whole lot of stuff that shows that she's a immature female. She hasn't grown into adulthood yet. So neither of these are a relationship match as far as longevity. However, the high school or elementary, middle school type romance, yes, they are a perfect match regarding that. But longevity, committed relationship, no. These two do not know what they're doing. None of them knew what they were doing at all. So I say to you all that's listening to this, this is a perfect example of this movie right here is a perfect example of fireworks of romance. That is a term that I coined, letting people know that fireworks of romance is when all you see is those beautiful colors of romance, and you just see the romanticism that society programmed you to believe in, that that's the only aspect of relationships, and that's what should entice you into relationships. No, that's just one aspect of relationships that keeps keeps people excited, but you still have other things that involve the relationship, and that's growth, overall growth. You both are in the relationship so that you both can grow. But people don't know this. All right, go get the book, Straight Talk for Men About Marriage. That was one of the books, like I said earlier, that really got me going. Straight Talk for Men About Marriage. And who is it by? Martin G. Friedman. Martin G. Friedman, Straight Talk for Men About Marriage. Men need to read that book, and also women need to read it also. It tells you a lot about relationships. That's one of the things, the books that got me started too. Okay, let's go. Let me go ahead and explain the romance propaganda. All right, the romance propaganda is still the same thing as I said about the fireworks of romance. So what they do is they have these movies, they have TV shows, they have the magazines, and a variety of other things that the gets people obsessed with the romance aspect of relationships. And yes, the romanticism is a very, very nice thing to have. However, most people have been trained to primarily and predominantly focus on the romance aspect of the relationship. Then once that part fades, then they put their hands up in the air. They're like, "What the fuck's next? I don't know what to do." And that's how a lot of people are. They're lost. They don't know what else to do after that because they have been taught only the romance aspect of the relationship, and then they don't know what to do after that. They don't know how to handle the distress. They don't know how to make the decisions, the higher wise decisions while they're in distress because they are still psychologically undisciplined and untrained children. And that's how these so-called adults have been for years. So, and as far as this romance propaganda, I would say probably most of Americans have been sucked in from by that romance propaganda. And I can tell, especially females. Females, in my opinion, from my own studying, observation, investigation, and analysis of human relationships, females are the most susceptible to the romance propaganda, especially if they did not have a strong, mature father in their life that gave the child adequate amount of time, energy, and affection throughout her childhood. A father can be in a let me see here. A person can have their both parents in their life. However, it doesn't mean that both parents were both mature and strong parents that helps their child develop into mature adults. So when people say that they grew up with their parents, that doesn't mean anything. If you have the knowledge and the information about what's needed, then you know that that doesn't mean anything, especially if the person still hasn't grown up psychologically. And it's the parents, their job at first to develop the child into an adulthood psychologically. Then at some point, it's the job of the child to take over and say, okay, it's my turn to take over. I'm an adult now, so I got to develop my own mind, do my own self-reflection, self-analysis, and self-development now so that I can move forward and be the person who I want to be. That's the process, people, right then and there. Gabby didn't have that. Yes, she had her lovey-dovey parents, like she mentioned in the movie, but they was all having fun with them, and that's what parents think, that you're supposed to only have fun with your child and do stuff like that. No, you got to do both. Have fun with your child and sit down and teach them the ins and outs of life so that they can develop their minds to higher states of existence, so that they can be prepared for the crap like Gabby and Travis been through, and be able to stand up and say no at certain times, and just overall be able to make wise adult decisions. That's really the bottom line. But alrighty, guys, that's enough right there. I already mentioned all of my notes right here, and like I said, this movie is another romance propaganda, getting people caught up in the romance aspect predominantly of relationships. This is a clear, based on my information and my analysis of this movie from my years of studying, observing, and analyzing human relationships. This is a clear example of immaturity, and when people have not grown up psychologically, and then they want to be involved in a relationship, but they don't know what a relationship really is. And this is an example right here that it's just the fireworks of romance that people get caught up in, and they think they're ready for relationships. But when they get in times of distress, that's what lets you know who's prepared and who's not. And neither one of them, Ryan, Travis, or Gabby, was prepared for anything, and they didn't really make the wise, mature decisions throughout the movie. So that's that. And I hope that I gave you at least some information that you have not learned before. Hope it's new, and you can take that and incorporate it within yourself and do something good with it. And you can check my blog out at committedrelationships.wordpress.com. I'll put that in the description. You can also email me at committedrelationships@gmail.com. Let's see here. And I also have a Facebook group it's titled Committed Relationships Informative Information About Relationships. Something like that. You'll see it when you start typing it in, and you'll see my ebook cover says committed relationships, the starting process to the process. All right, thank you very much for listening, and pass this pass this link on to the next person if you can, to let them know, somebody who you think can really utilize this information and who will be interested in. So pass them the link to my video here. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.